Bună ziua, bine ați venit. So today, I wanted to talk about education in Romania and my impressions of education in Romania. Um, Before retiring, I was a teacher for 32 years of modern languages, and I actually taught in Romania for some time. Since I've retired, I've been offered a couple of jobs here to teach English, but to be honest, when you retire, you kind of lose the enthusiasm. So I'd rather not. But I've got some impressions about the educational system here, which I'd like to share with you. They may be incorrect, they may be wrong. If they are, please put your comments in the comments below and put me right about what I think. But these are just my impressions. I've got some positive and some negative impressions. So let's start with let's start with some positive impressions. I think the Romanian system derives or follows the French system to a large extent, in that STEM subjects, science, maths, are highly valued. And I've already commented about the number of female engineers I've noticed in Romania, which wouldn't be the case in the UK. So clearly, maths, a little bit like in France, it used to be option C, and then it changed to option S, the scientific modules in school were the most prized, and I think that's the case here. If you want to be a doctor, or if you are interested in information technology, those are probably the best classes to go into at liceo level. And you'll also be very good at English in those classes. It doesn't mean because you're good at maths that you're not good at languages, as in France. The pupils I taught in France in option C were the most gifted at languages, rather than necessarily those doing philology. I appreciate very much the fact that you have bilingual classes, so they double the number of classes you have in a given language, usually English. So people are sped through, and they're very motivated to learn English because a lot of people want to work abroad. So you go into a bilingual section and you have double the number of classes, and you can make quicker progress. Romanian pupils do extraordinarily well in Olympiads, and the Olympiads are a great motivating factor both for pupils and for their teachers. My understanding, and you can correct me on this, is that if a teacher does well with a class and has lots of success in Olympiads for their pupils, there is a salary bonus for them which lasts for a little while. And the pupils, I think, also get a bonus because they don't have to attend so many classes. They're given leave to prepare for the Olympiads. So Olympiads are a great motivating factor in the Romanian educational system. The language classes that I've seen, I was a language teacher. Teachers use the direct method. So that means they teach in the target language, which is challenging and is difficult both for the teacher and for the pupils, but it's probably a very efficient way of transmitting a language once pupils are tuned in to this methodology, which is unusual in Europe. I mean, I think they do it in France, but certainly not in the UK. Our pupils couldn't cope with direct method teaching. Of course, Romanians have the big advantage of TV shows being shown in the original language. So if you have a film which is English, you will have the film shown in English with Romanian subtitles. So that's a huge advantage for Romanian pupils learning a foreign language. I think there's a great respect for education in Romania, which we've probably lost to a large extent in the UK. Not in every class, that's for sure. But I've noticed that people value education and see education as a way to make their way in the world. European projects are very highly prized. The Erasmus schemes, Erasmus programs, and some schools are named as a European school. So this contribution to the curriculum and to the way that Romania looks beyond its own country to the wider world is very important, and I think European projects play a huge part in that. I love the way that Romanians use their facilities twice for junior school pupils and for high school pupils. So the younger pupils will come to school typically at 7:30 in the morning, stay till about 12:30, and then the high school pupils will take over the same buildings. This makes so much sense, and this sharing of resources is such a good idea that we just don't have in the UK, where pupils work from typically 8:30 to 9 o'clock till about 2:30, 3 o'clock, and then the building is just empty. What a waste of space. And we could do well to learn from the Romanian model. Okay, those are the positives. The downside that I've seen, well, attendance. I think attendance is poor. Certainly, I've noticed in my area when I walk around my block and my area, a lot of pupils learning, but mainly learning how to smoke and how to play cards and how to play backgammon, but not really being in school. I mean, the whole notion of a school register seems to have disappeared. In England, you're fined if your child doesn't go to school. Here, I think you can probably get a doctor's note or a medical certificate to explain the fact that you're not in school. But attendance seems to be very poor, and they seem to rely upon meditație or private lessons to catch up what they could have learnt if they'd gone to school. So I think attendance is a big problem, and it's certainly a big problem in the country where pupils leave school very early or are withdrawn from school at an early age. You don't have to go to school till you're 6 in Romania, and theoretically you remain till you're 18/19 in year 12. But I think that doesn't happen everywhere. That contributes to the next problem, which is functional illiteracy. Functional illiteracy is at about 42% in Romania. In the rest of Europe, the average is 23%, so it's almost double. And this means that people can't really read or write or understand numbers. I noticed this on the flight back from the UK last week, where quite a few people just couldn't read the numbers of their seat. They were unable to locate themselves in an aeroplane because they couldn't read the numbers. And I think functional illiteracy is a huge problem. Another problem and this is a feature, a general feature of high society perhaps in Romania. It's very very popular to have a PhD, to have a doctorate, but plagiarism is a huge problem, and we've seen that with the former Prime Minister Ponta, with the current Prime Minister, Ciucă, and the recently departed Minister of Education, who'd all plagiarized their theses and have them withdrawn because they just copied everything. So I think even in the higher echelons of academia, there are huge systemic problems with the Romanian educational system. I'd say another problem is the way that they mark, but who am I to say? In France, everything is marked out of 20. In Romania, everything is marked out of 10. Well, it's very difficult to discriminate when you reduce the level of the marks available to 10. I mean, I think Romanians are used to the system, so they understand it. I made a huge mistake when I was judging a poetry competition because I was giving pupils, who really hadn't performed very well, 3 and 4 out of 10, and this was regarded as outrageous, that I should have been giving them 8.75 or 8.8. So I think the way that things are marked is very problematic. There are too many subjects in the curriculum for me. In high school, you'd be expected to take about 15 subjects to the baccalaureate level, and everybody knows what the most important subjects are. The most important subjects are Romanian, language and literature, and English. Depending on your options, which option you've chosen to specialize in, then it could be IT or it could be physics, natural sciences. But to be expected to take exams in 15 subjects is for me is overbearing, and really is too much to ask any pupil to do. The other problem is, because you have so many subjects, you don't have enough time to study. So your second language, if you're not in a bilingual section, would be 2 hours a week. I mean, how on earth are you expected to learn a foreign language via the direct method in 2 hours a week? It's absolutely impossible. And this is where private lessons, meditație, come in, because you need them. Otherwise, you're going to fail your baccalaureate. You're not going to get the requisite number of points, and the requisite number of points for a good university course will be in the high 9s out of 10. So an average of 9.5, 9.6 plus is required to get onto a decent university course. Otherwise, you're abandoned. It's extraordinary to me how many young people smoke in Romania. It seems to be compulsory that young people, I suppose it's not as expensive as it is in the UK, where it costs something like 13 UK pounds for a packet of cigarettes. Here it's a lot cheaper. But they all seem to smoke. I suppose it's a rite of passage. I don't know how many kids in the UK smoke, but I suspect a lot less than in Romania. Okay, so I think it's a good system. It's rigorous. It can be rigorous. There are problems. I don't think there's enough money being put into the system. I think it's worse in the country than in the town. I think city schools are probably better off. The other interesting point about the names of schools are they do have names now. I live near a school called Tudor Arghezi, and I've worked with Ștefan Velovan College in Craiova, and Karolin I and Elena Cuza. They all have different specialities, and They are great schools. Um, they used to have numbers. So when I say Tudorages, a friend of mine will say, school 11, because they all used to have numbers. My stepdaughter, I think, went to school 29, but I'm not sure about that. So in the good old days, they used to have numbers. Now they have names. And they have renown for various specialities. I'll conclude today with some impressions of a friend of mine from Britain, our first visitors from the UK, who came to visit us. They stayed here for a week, and I was very interested about what their impressions, never having been to Romania, what their impressions of Romania were. And my friend said, great people. It's good. Interesting cities and towns with lots of historical sites. Transport infrastructure lacking. Yeah, I got to agree with that. Lots of issues with the trains. Nothing labelled in stations. Destinations unclear. Very difficult to get on and off trains physically. Yeah, I mean, these trains are quite high. You've got to really put some effort into getting on a train. Interrail tickets were a puzzle to inspectors. Yeah, they bought Interrail tickets, but Romanian inspectors hadn't seen those or heard of those. Food, too meat heavy. Yeah, I'd agree with that. I mean, I'm almost a vegetarian, and the amount of meat you eat here is just crazy. I think it's why Romanians die early, to be honest. Little English spoken. I disagree with him about that. I think people do speak more English than you would think, especially young people tend to speak very good English. No advertising control, most noticeable in Bucharest with the Skyline advert hoardings. So too many adverts, yeah, at a high level. That in Bucharest, that certainly is true. I wouldn't say it's true elsewhere. Enjoyable overall, but would like a more leisurely itinerary in future. Yeah, I think my friend didn't realise how big Romania is and how slowly the trains go. But overall, I think a very positive review of Romania. I love it here, and I couldn't imagine living anywhere else, really. So be very interested to hear your impressions of my impressions of education in Romania. I found pupils extremely polite when I taught. I taught for 2 weeks in a school here, and they were very compliant and very eager to help. And yeah, I mean, almost your model pupils, really. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.